Okay, just one more adjustment.
The sound of clanging metal echoed through the worn-down factory floor of Riverside Motors, a small auto parts plant just outside Cleveland, Ohio. Amid the noise and oil-stained chaos worked Ethan Miller, a single father who had long since traded his dreams for responsibility. His hands were scarred, his clothes faded, but his heart, steady and kind, had never hardened. Ethan's 8-year-old daughter Lila was his entire world. Every morning before the factory whistle blew, he would braid her hair, pack her lunch, and promise that someday, "Daddy's gonna make things better." But in a world where bills were heavier than hope, that promise felt like a whisper swallowed by the noise of life. One Friday afternoon, the factory handed out pay envelopes. The line of workers shuffled forward, tired but relieved. It was payday, the one moment each month that kept the lights on and food on the table. Ethan accepted his envelope with a quiet nod, but before he could even tuck it into his pocket, he overheard a sob behind him. It was Danny, one of the youngest mechanics on the floor, barely 20, just starting out. His wife had gone into early labor, and their medical bills had swallowed everything they had. His voice cracked as he told a friend, "They won't let her out unless we pay something." "I don't know what to do." Ethan looked down at the envelope in his hand. It wasn't much, just enough to cover rent, groceries, and maybe a new pair of shoes for Lila. But then he remembered a night when someone had done the same for him, years ago, when Lila was born, and he'd been the one crying in a hospital hallway. Without a word, he walked over to Danny, pressed the envelope into his hand and said quietly, "Go take care of your family. You can't replace a moment like this." Danny's eyes widened. "Ethan, no, I can't take this." But Ethan smiled faintly. "You'll pay it forward someday." "That's enough for me." He walked home that evening with empty pockets, but a peaceful heart. Leela noticed her father's silence as they sat eating a modest dinner. "Daddy," she asked softly, "did you get your pay today?" Ethan hesitated, then nodded. "Not this time, sweetheart. Someone needed it more." She smiled in that pure, childlike way that reminded him why he did everything. "Then we're rich," she said. The next morning, Claire Donovan, the 29-year-old owner of Riverside Motors, arrived for her weekly inspection. She was young, driven, and elegant, always dressed in a tailored white blazer that stood out against the grime of the factory. Her father had founded the company before passing it down to her, and though she was sharp and business-minded, her employees often saw her as cold and distant. That day, however, something changed. She overheard 2 workers talking near her office door. "Did you hear what Ethan did?" One said. "Yeah," the other replied. "Gave his whole paycheck away. Guy's got a kid too." Claire paused mid-step. She knew Ethan, a quiet, hard-working man who never complained. He wasn't the type to seek attention. The more she listened, the more something tugged at her heart. Later that day, she walked through the factory floor and found him kneeling beside an engine. His sleeves rolled up, hands steady as ever. "Mr. Miller," she said, her voice calm but curious, "may I speak with you?" He wiped his hands and stood, a bit nervous. "Of course, ma'am. I heard about what you did yesterday," she said, crossing her arms. "Is it true? You gave away your salary?" Ethan nodded slightly. "Yes, ma'am. The kid needed it more than I did." She studied his face, waiting for some sign of self-pity or regret, but found none. Only quiet dignity. "Do you realize that was your rent money?" she asked. He smiled faintly. "Yes, ma'am. But I'll figure something out. I always do." For a long moment she said nothing. Then she simply nodded and walked away. But something in her had shifted. His calm selflessness had struck a chord she couldn't ignore. That weekend, Claire sat in her office long after everyone had gone home. The city lights shimmered beyond the glass, but her thoughts stayed on the factory floor. Her father had built this company with his hands, believing that good people built strong machines. She'd grown up in comfort, but now, for the first time, she saw what that comfort had cost others, the people who kept her father's dream alive. By Monday morning, Ethan returned to work, unaware that anything was different. But when he arrived at his station, there was a letter taped to his toolbox with the company's seal. He opened it slowly. Inside was a note written in Claire's handwriting. "Mr. Miller, your kindness reminded me what leadership means. You've given more than money. You've given this factory its heart. Effective immediately, you are promoted to maintenance supervisor with full salary increase and benefits. Also, please visit HR today for the additional bonus owed to you. Consider it a thank you from someone who learned something important from you. Claire Donovan." Ethan read the note twice, then 3 times. He blinked, trying to make sense of it. When he finally went to HR, they handed him a check that made his hands tremble. It was enough to clear his debts, and then some. That evening, when he picked up Lila from school, she ran into his arms as he lifted her high, laughing through tears. "Daddy, what happened?" she asked. He smiled, eyes glistening. "Someone at work decided to believe in us." Weeks later, Claire stopped by the maintenance area again. This time, she wasn't there for an inspection. She found Ethan showing his daughter around, proudly pointing at the machines he kept running. Claire knelt beside Lila and smiled gently. "Your dad's the best man I've met in this factory," she said softly. "And maybe in this city," Lila grinned. "I know. He's my hero." As they laughed together, Ethan realized that kindness had done something more powerful than earn him a promotion. It had changed a heart that once believed business came before people. And in that moment, under the hum of machines and the scent of oil and steel, both of them understood the same truth. Sometimes the richest people are the ones who give everything away, and the luckiest are those humble enough to receive.